WADR, promoting dialogue.
Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. This is NEWSLINK. Here are the top stories. Nigeria's presidential election petition court upholds Bola Ahmed Tinubu's election victory.
The Nigerian judiciary had proved the guardians for justice and fairness against the sirens of deception. It's a battle between the will of the people and the forces of misinformation and disinformation. But democracy has finally triumphed.
Ousted Gabonese President Ali Bongo Ondimba regains freedom due to deteriorating health conditions. Protesters in Niger demand French forces withdrawal as week-long demonstrations continue in the capital, Niamey. And also coming up, Ghana's Human Rights Commission calls for dialogue with LGBTQ+ community ahead of the anti-gay bill finalization.
Shrag believes that it is when we listen to one another as Africans that we can agree to uphold the fundamental rights of our brothers and sisters who may not necessarily look like the majority of the population.
Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Tawfiq Abdul Nasser with NEWSLINK.
Many thanks for joining us, and a warm welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, and Liberia. Our top story this afternoon takes us to Nigeria as the Presidential Election Petition Court in Abuja on Wednesday issued a verdict affirming that Bola Ahmed Tinubu was legitimately elected in accordance with the declaration made by the Independent National Electoral Commission during the presidential election held on February 25. The judgment was rendered in response to petitions lodged by Peter Obi of the Labour Party and Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, along with the Allied People's Movement. Justice Haruna Samani, presiding over the 5-member panel of justices, articulated that the petitioners could not substantiate their claims per the legal requirement. WADR's Usman Umar in Abuja, who witnessed the court ruling, now reports.
After an extensive session lasting approximately 15 hours, the court decisively rejected the petitioner's argument that a presidential candidate must secure 25% of the votes cast in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, to be validly declared as the winner of the presidential election. The court deemed this assertion completely fallacious. Other petitions challenging the overall credibility of the elections and the academic qualifications of Bola Tinubu were dismissed as frivolous as the petitioners failed to present substantiated evidence to support their claims. Speaking to the media after the judgment, Vice President Kashim Shettima expressed his satisfaction, describing the ruling as a triumph for Nigeria and its democratic principles.
The Nigerian judiciary had proved itself to be the guardians for justice and fairness against the sirens of deception. It's a battle between the will of the people and the forces of misinformation and disinformation. But democracy has finally triumphed.
On the contrary, the Labour Party, represented by its lead lawyer, voiced dissatisfaction with the judgment and declared its intention to appeal.
Our clients are dissatisfied with the judgment just delivered, and we have the firm instruction of our clients to challenge the judgment on appeal. And the court has promised us that possibly by tomorrow we are going to get a copy of the judgment. Once we have it, we will swing into action.
All dissatisfied parties have a 90-day window within which they can appeal the tribunal's decision at the Supreme Court, ensuring due process and the opportunity for further legal review. For NEWSLINK on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Meanwhile, ousted Gabonese President Ali Bongo Ondimba has regained freedom as declared by the Committee for the Transition and Restoration of Institutions, CDRI, to travel freely abroad for medical purposes considering his deteriorating health condition. This announcement was made via a press release signed by General Brice Oligui Nguema, head of the CDRI and president of the transition in the country. Recall, Ali Bongo Ondimba was removed from office through a coup d'etat on August 30, following the announcement of provisional results of the presidential election held on August 26, which declared him the winner with 64.27% of the votes. The coup leaders nullified the election, dissolved all state institutions, and placed Ali Bongo under house arrest. Let's bring you some update in Niger as protesters continue to stage demonstrations in front of the French base in Niamey for nearly a week, demanding the withdrawal of French forces from the country. During a press conference held in Niamey over the weekend, the Prime Minister, who was appointed by the military, indicated that negotiations were in progress to facilitate the departure of French forces from the country. The ultimatum issued by Niamey to the French forces expired a few days ago. Civil society organizations are continuing their efforts to sustain the pressure until the French military exit. For more on this, here is a report by Niamey correspondent Murtala Zubeiru, voiced by Ogeobi Erika.
The Patriotic Front for the Sovereignty of Niger stands as a prominent civil society coalition that has been actively increasing pressure for the withdrawal of French forces from the country. During a press conference held in Niamey on Wednesday, these civil society organizations expressed a somewhat cautious sense of satisfaction as they witnessed the gradual departure of French forces from Niger. Michael Zodi, an activist and a member of the Patriotic Front for the Sovereignty of Niger, voiced their collective sentiment.
The
struggle is bearing fruit because we have seen and we have known that the French authorities are negotiating with the Nigerian military authorities to find a way out for their forces stationed here. We will not give up. This pressure comes from us, the people of Niger, who no longer agree with their presence.
In excerpts from their statements, these civil society organizations, who have been at the forefront of the campaign for the French forces' exit, are calling for continued mobilization until this objective is fully realized.
We will continue this mobilization. This is a permanent sit-in. We will continue to camp here until the departure of the last French soldier. We will not let ourselves to be overwhelmed by their speech, by their negotiations. The pressure must continue. The pressure must continue. This pressure will make our Niger an independent and sovereign country.
The Patriotic Front for the Sovereignty of Niger is urging Nigerians to remain vigilant and cease collaboration with the French forces stationed in the country.
That was a report by Niamey correspondent Murtala Zubeiru, voiced by.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. NEWSLINK continues.
Here in Senegal, the F-24 movement has announced an upcoming peaceful protest scheduled for this Friday in Dakar. This platform, which unites various political parties and civil society organizations, is advocating for the release of individuals termed political detainees and the organization of an inclusive presidential election. Since its inception a few months ago, most F-24 demonstrations have faced prohibition by the authorities, purportedly due to concerns about potential disruption to public order. While the group awaits a response from state authorities concerning permission for the planned protest, Mamadou Choro, a Senegalese political analyst and NEWSLINK contributor, has advised that granting authorization is crucial to prevent potential violent confrontations between the state police and the demonstrators.
Yeah, first of all, we have to wait
if they get the permission from the prefect, because we've noticed that over the 2 months now, all the demand has been rejected. But I think it's normal in a democracy for people to hold this kind of rally, and I think it's a gathering at La Place de la Nation, the Nation Square. So normally, for security reasons, I mean, they can have enough policemen and gendarmes, I mean, to take care of the security. So it's high time, maybe to allow people to protest. I mean, it's something very commonplace in a democracy.
Right. So what would be the consequences if, in case their request to protest this Friday is rejected, looking at the instance in Guinea, even though the authorities didn't give them the permission to protest, yet they defied the odds and came on the street, which eventually turned violent?
Yeah, I think so far they cope with the decision of the prophet, not allowing them to hold this kind of gathering. We don't know, because if they continue, not allowing them, at once they can decide to face that, and it can bring violence. Because, if they decided to hold, they gathering, and, they are not allowed to do that. So we'll go back to violence, and nobody know what can happen. I think, as we usually say, it's easier, to let them do it than to forbid this kind of event.
Mamadou Chor is a Senegalese political analyst. In Ghana, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, is urging Ghana's parliament to initiate discussions with representatives from the LGBTQ+ community in Ghana prior to finalizing the anti-gay bill. According to the Commission, this will ensure the rights of all minority groups and safeguard their dignity as members of society. From Accra, here is Atiwin Mbila with the details.
The Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, tasked with ensuring justice, equity, and the protection of human rights, asserts that the emergence of a discussion surrounding LGBTQ+ matters in Africa is anticipated. Nevertheless, SHRAJ recommends that Africa should establish an open platform for dialogue, negotiation, and debate on these contentious issues. Speaking at a public forum held at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, Deputy SHRAJ Commissioner Mercy Larbi emphasized that the legislative processes, particularly within parliaments, should involve extensive and comprehensive consultations before considering and passing such laws to prevent discrimination.
SHRAJ believes that it is when we listen to one another as Africans that we can agree to uphold the fundamental rights of our brothers and sisters who may not necessarily look like the majority of the population.
On a different note, a representative of one of Ghana's highly esteemed traditional leaders, the Asantehene, Nana Osei Bonsu II, the paramount chief of the Mampong traditional area, challenged parliamentarians to either pass the law or be prepared to face the consequences.
I permit a man to kiss a man, and a man to kiss a man, and a woman to kiss a man. Please, I don't need to talk about it over here. For heaven's sake, don't say that Uganda must be ostracized just because they were bold to have passed a bill into law. Ghana, we have ours in parliament, and law betides those parliamentarians, if they can about it, and emulate what is happening in America. They'll come and meet us in our respective kingdoms.
In July, Ghana's parliament unanimously endorsed the Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill 2021, which is currently under consideration. Reporting for NEWSLINK on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Atiwin Mbila Lawson in Accra.
And now to some financial matters. West Africa's central bank, BCL, has announced a 25 basis point increase in its primary lending rate, bringing it to 3.25% effective from September 16. Abdullahi Hassan reports that this decision has been made in response to escalating regional uncertainties and ongoing inflationary pressures.
As per the regional financial institution's statement, The elevation of key interest rates is a preemptive measure aimed at proactively addressing and mitigating the potential repercussions of the risk factors on macroeconomic prospects of the Union. The BCRO, in its announcement, disclosed that in the forthcoming months, the Monetary Policy Committee will meticulously assess the risks associated with the macroeconomic outlook and, as necessary, implement suitable measures to uphold stability. It's noteworthy that the central bank oversees the monetary policies of the 8-nation West African CFA franc zone, which encompasses Benin, Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Niger, Senegal, and Togo. In recent years, the West African Monetary Zone has faced a series of economic challenges and uncertainties. These challenges include fluctuations in global commodity prices, particularly affecting countries reliant on exports of commodities like oil and cocoa. The region has been impacted by various external factors such as the COVID-19 pandemic, which disrupted economies worldwide. Discussions on monetary policy and economic stability have been a topic of debate within the region as countries weigh the importance of maintaining a stable currency pegged to the euro.
Abdullah Hassan reporting there. It's 16 minutes past the hour 12. You're listening to NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Nigeria's presidential election petition court upholds Bola Ahmed Tinubu's election victory. Ousted Gabonese President Ali Bongo Ondimba regains freedom due to deteriorating health conditions. Protesters in Niger demand French forces withdrawal as week-long demonstrations continue in the capital, Niamey. And Ghana's Human Rights Commission calls for dialogue with LGBTQ+ community ahead of anti-gay bill finalization. Still ahead is the press review, guest interview, and sports update. Stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Now, Liberia has kicked off a 2-day national consultation seminar that brings together delegates from both the United Nations and the Liberian government. The primary purpose of this seminar is to promote awareness and understanding of the Sustainable Development Goals in anticipation of this year's international conference in New York. WADR's Monrovia correspondent Darlington Popper reports.
The event is conducted under the theme Amplifying the Voices and Actions of SDGs and Committing to Inclusive and Sustainable Transformation for Shared Prosperity in Liberia. At the commencement of the event, Christine Motone, the United Nations resident coordinator in Liberia, acknowledged that while Liberia has achieved some progress in pursuing the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs), there remains a substantial need for further efforts to bring the country in line with its regional counterparts.
I also understand Liberia are already actually committed to SDG domestication. The country developed the SDG domestication roadmap, designed its own proper agenda for prosperity and development, and all these are good building blocks, but I think we all know we need to do more.
Deputy Finance Minister for Economic Management, Augustus Flomo, expressed appreciation for the substantial support provided by the United Nations and other partners to Liberia over the years. Loretta Pokai, chairperson of the National Civil Society Council of Liberia, emphasized the role that civil society organizations CSO played in raising awareness about the SDGs. Currently, stakeholders have identified that increasing awareness across the country is the most effective means of educating citizens about the SDGs, ensuring a more informed and engaged population. For NewsLink on the West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Popper in Monrovia.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
Atiwin and Bella Lawson is here with the major headlines from the Ghanaian dailies.
Welcome to the newspaper review. Let's start with the headlines in the Daily Graphic newspaper. The screaming headline says, "Speak up against corruption. Some Jonah rally citizens and groups." Then we have some banner headlines. NDC determined to protect Constitution. That's according to Johnson Asiedu Nketia. And Allen's withdrawal will have consequences for the New Patriotic Party. That's what a political scientist believes. Let's go to the Daily Guide newspaper. The screaming headline, "Allen's drop from NPP race is shocking." Then we have some banner headline, "Ghana, Colombia strengthen ties. DVLA phases out old driver's license. New Patriotic Party flag bearer aspirant balloting postponed." In the Ghanaian Times, the screaming headline, "Migration of health workers, government to health exodus." That's according to the Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman-Menu. We have a number of banner headlines. This one says, "Residents asked to move to higher ground. Urgent action needed to achieve SDGs," according to the United Nations. And then Castro laid to rest on Saturday. Let's now do some business stories. The Business Analyst newspaper, the screaming headline, 613.52 million Ghana cedis used for road maintenance in 2022. Then there's some banner headlines here. Secured loans by leading companies lowest across all lending institutions. Ghana Club 100 CEOs discuss public-private partnership for economic growth. And then corruption and greed have eaten deep into the fabric of Ghana, according to Sam Jonah. And finally, we'll end with the Business Finder newspaper. The screaming headline, "State-owned enterprises seek private capital for increased efficiency and productivity." And the two banner headlines, 120 awarded MTN scholarships, and Ghana to be granted observer status in Pacific Alliance. So those are the headlines in the Business Finder newspaper, ending the newspaper review for today. My name is Atiewin Imbila Lawson from Accra, Ghana. Back to you in the studio.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest focus this afternoon takes us back to Nigeria, where the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the Labour Party, LP, rejected the verdict of the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, which affirmed Bola Tinubu's victory in the February poll. While both parties, who were petitioners in the case, are annulling their next line of action, President Tinubu has called on their candidates, Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, to support his government and welcomed his victory at the tribunal. In a marathon judgment on Wednesday, the 5-member panel of judges dismissed petitions against Tinubu, candidate of the All Progressive Congress (APC) in the 2023 election. This verdict has, however, created division among the Nigerian population. As others believe the judgment is fair, others think otherwise. Joining us on this is Adeni Ikunu, an international relations expert.
Well, it's important to state that the court has actually operated within the framework of the law in terms of when petitions are received and when petitions are actually listened to, in terms of when respondents actually make submissions. According to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, Section 285, subsection 5, 6, and 7 stipulates what is expected of any petitioner after the result of any disputed election has been announced. You can equally file for a review of what has happened so that the judgment will either be attended to by a higher court, and that will take another 2 months. So I think on the side of the judiciary of the country of Nigeria, they've accomplished that. But the incident associated with the verdict is an entire different kettle of fish, which has generated different reactions.
Right. So talk about even the reaction. This has actually created division among the Nigerian populations, as others believe the judgment is fair, others think otherwise. So where do you stand?
Well, from speaking with a lot of people and reading certain messages, the opinions are diverse, as is expected. The incumbent party that produced the president after the election of February 25, 2023, are very happy that justice has been done and that the petitions filed before the petitions elections court are actually null and void. In fact, the court made use of the word nebulous in the petitions of the Labour Party. And every issue raised regarding, first, the candidacy of the vice president, regarding the incidences of overvoting, regarding the fact that elections uploaded on the portal were blurry, everything felt like a pack of cards. In fact, those who are taught that a particular issue with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, where he actually forfeited $460,000 was criminal, was actually a civilian issue. And the United States of America has also issued a verdict, and it is the fact that he wasn't indicted in that case.
Right. So now the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the Labour Party, led by Peter Obi, have rejected the result and they are going to file an appeal. So do you think there could be a turnover in their favor?
Well, if you look at the processes of our court submissions in this country, the cases presented at the petitions tribunal are the same issues that they will have to proceed to the appellate and Supreme Court to submit. You cannot add anything that is new. So if, for instance, the learned justices at the tribunal have given a verdict where the petitions were nullified as not something worth any salt, it is likely that the other courts that they will go to may not differ from the position that this particular justices or judges held. It's a 5-man panel led by Justice Samani. So I think that we may not have anything different, but perhaps a difference in syntax, but the semantics are going to be essentially the same when they go to the higher court. So that's how it's going to be.
Adeni Kunu is an international relations expert. Up next is Sports Update with Sankule Janko.
Hello there, warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Nigeria international players Victor Osimhen and Asisat Oshoala have been nominated for the 2023 Ballon d'Or award. This comes after the award committee unveiled a list of 30 nominees for the prestigious individual accolade. This also means Nigeria is the first country to have both male and female nominees for the award for the same year. Osimhen's nomination didn't come as a surprise after an impressive performance with Italian giants Napoli. The Super Eagles forward guided Napoli to their first league title after 33 years, winning numerous awards along the way. Key among them includes former Liberia international President George Weah's long-standing goal scorer record for an African player. That's it for sports. It's back to you.
We have come to the end of this edition of NewsLink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Inyaz Bilimu for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. I am Tawfiq Abdul Nasir. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to NewsLink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newimi FM 94.0, and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County. For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.
This is the Sunny Side Ride.
This is the Sunny Side Ride.
Super shows. Stay ahead with the news and great music that will keep you going. All afternoon. It's the Sunny Side Ride on 94.9 FM Dakar. Promoting the culture of West Africa to the world. West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
WADR. You can listen to us on 94.9 FM in Dakar through our website www.wadr.org.
This is West Africa Democracy.